Bob Costas is with us. There he is, the great Costasian. My God. Oh, what?
Billy, really, I thought that intro was insufficiently respectful and fulsome. Would you like to start over?
No, it's exactly what you sent me, Bob.
Oh, there you go.
I read it word
I like
for
a man
word.
who can follow instructions.
Bob, what did we see? Who is this giant boy? Is he the greatest that ever played the game of baseball?
He's certainly unique. No one has ever done both those things simultaneously at that level. Babe Ruth was a Hall of Fame level pitcher in the so-called dead ball era, the teens, prior to 1920 when the ball changed and so did the game change. And Babe Ruth had a lot to do with that. He basically introduced the home run and as a primary weapon. And there was a period of time in the 20s when he hit more home runs as an individual than some teams hit around the American League. But he did not pitch and hit. He did it occasionally a little bit in the 20s, but basically he wasn't doing it at this level simultaneously as Ohtani has. Now, this game has to be the single greatest, considering the platform, one step from the World Series, and the win took them to the World Series, considering the platform, the importance of the game, and what he did in that game. This has to be the greatest single game performance by any player in the history of baseball. As you said, 6 shutout innings, 10 strikeouts, which means he retired 10 of the 18 batters he retired, only 2 hits, and then 3 home runs, one of them so gargantuan that it literally went over the pavilion and in effect left the ballpark, one of the longest home runs ever hit. And in this little video you have right there, or the still shots, look at Freddie Freeman, his own teammate, holding the side of his head. He turns his own teammates into fans. They view him with awe. Now, if you want to take this and say, okay, he doesn't play the field, so he isn't a great outfielder like Willie Mays was, and maybe he isn't as great a hitter overall as Ted Williams was, as Barry Bonds was during a period of time that's obviously kind of suspect, as Babe Ruth was in the 20s, or he is not as great a pitcher as Sandy Koufax was, or Bob Gibson was, or even Tarek Skubal or Paul Skeens, who only pitch today. But nobody has ever done both things simultaneously at this level, and no one's ever had a game like this. Reggie Jackson had 3 home runs in a clinching World Series game in 1977. Albert Pujols went 5 for 6 in a World Series game in 2011, and 3 of those 5 hits were home runs. But they didn't then pitch shutout ball. I mean, it's just, this guy's off the chart. He's in a category of his own.
But when you say fielder and hitter, I mean, it's harder to pitch than it is to play outfield, I think.
Sure it is.
I mean, come on. I mean,
sure it is.
Yeah, he's in the field, and he's in the most important position in the field. So does that make his massive $700 million contract over 10 years a bargain?
You know, it could be for the Dodgers. It wouldn't be for every team, but they're able to amortize it. They also got an excellent deal from their standpoint, where he takes only about $2 million a year during the time that he's playing. He makes some $50 million a year, we're told, in endorsements and outside stuff, some of it primarily from Japan. So the Dodgers get a good deal in that they get to hold on to a lot of this money for a decade, but eventually they will have to pay it. And they're playing kind of hedge fund baseball. They've got a different financial structure than most teams do. And that fact, along with the Yankees, the Mets, and a few other teams, may lead to a lockout. We don't want to think about it now while we're enjoying baseball, but there's a possibility of a lockout prior to the 2027 season over this very issue, where the other teams, the supposed have-nots, are saying, if we don't have a salary cap, the Dodgers and a few others are just going to beat us into submission. But if you're just the Dodgers and you're looking at the value of this, both at the gate and their television rights and their merchandise sales and expanding their fan base out across the Pacific Ocean, which it most certainly has, yeah, this makes sense for the Dodgers. Would it make sense for the Cincinnati Reds? No. And regretfully, it wouldn't make sense for Ohtani to go to the Cincinnati Reds.
It's not fair, though. I mean, in some ways, it's like the fact that, you know, they're playing against the Milwaukee Brewers. Isn't that like the Dodgers, you know, payroll is 3 times larger? I mean, this is a massive corporation versus a nice team from the Midwest.
In fact, Milwaukee is the smallest of all the 30 markets, and it's a tribute to them that they have consistently won the division or made the playoffs out of the National League Central. This year, they had the best record and the most wins of any team in baseball. They won 97 games, and they played a very heads-up style. They don't hit a whole lot of home runs, but during the course of the season, the Dodgers forced them into some mistakes. But during the course of the season, they're one of the best teams in baseball in not making mistakes on the bases, taking the extra base, fielding exceptionally well, not swinging at pitches outside the strike zone, playing small ball, making contact, laying down a bunt. They did all those things that helped them during the regular season, and then the Dodgers just had too much for them in 4 games in October. I think the Dodgers may actually be paying as much in luxury tax to the rest of the league beyond the $300+ million that they spend this year on overall payroll. They may be paying more in luxury tax than the Brewers' entire payroll to their current players.
What do you mean luxury tax? Explain that to?
Yeah, in the absence of a salary cap, and the other 3 major sports have some form of a salary cap. In the absence of that, what the Players Association eventually agreed to was a little bit of a drag on salaries, where if you exceed a certain payroll level, then you have to pay by percentage, depending upon how much beyond it you went. You pay that into a revenue sharing pool, which then is distributed among the other teams, with emphasis on the teams in the smaller markets and with the lower payroll.
So they pay the other teams to kick their ass.
That is the concise summation of what I just said. Yes.
Now, across the pantheon of single night performances, and I include Celine Dion closing out in Vegas.
Right.
I mean,
Sinatra at Madison Square Garden, right?
I also include Charlie Sheen after the Major League premiere, which was a huge night for him out on the town. I'm talking the pantheon of single night performances. Yeah. Is it the greatest? Can you think of anything else, like any sport, any event anywhere that is close to this? Tiger Woods could come.
I can't think of anything better. You know, Michael Jordan's last game as a Bull, when he made the winning shot against the Jazz, he scored 45 points.
Yeah.
You know, running on fumes at that advanced athletic age, just took the whole game over at the end. It was so dramatic, and it's the punctuation, the way the curtain came down essentially on his NBA career, although he did come back for a cameo with Washington a few years after that. That's maybe more dramatic, but I don't see how objectively you can say it's better than what Ohtani did. You think of Tiger Woods at his very best and blowing the entire field away in majors. Jack Nicklaus shot a 65 once on the last day of the Masters. That was extremely dramatic, theatrical, all those things.
Michael Phelps, you were there when he did the 8 medals in Beijing. Now, that wasn't a single night, but that was a hell of a week.
8 for 8. Yeah, no question about it. You know, Sandy Koufax at his best. Don Larson throwing a perfect game in the World Series, but he didn't hit 3 home runs. He didn't hit even 1. You know, Bob Gibson actually won 3 games for the Cardinals in the '67 World Series, all of them complete games, one of the greatest pitchers of all time. And he won the 7th game with a complete game at Fenway Park, and he hit a homer in that game. But he didn't hit 3.
Do you remember the highlights of your marriage like you remember baseball? Do you remember where your car keys? Do you know where your phone is right now? You have a memory that... How is it that you remember absolutely every single detail? What would you call it, encyclopedic, the memory?
Maybe it used to be. It's slipped a little bit, but I guess it slipped from a pretty high level to begin with.
Wow.
You know, that's the joke. I don't remember where I left my car keys or why I walked into this room every time I did. What did I come here for? Oh yeah. But on the other hand, I will tell you that Babe Pinelli was the plate umpire for Don Larson's perfect game in 1956.
Babe Pinelli, oh my God.
And that Dale Mitchell was the last batter.
How has the game of baseball changed to allow or require that kind of versatility? Why does Shohei's performance sort of feel like a tipping point here?
I don't know that it does, Billy. I mean, he's a unicorn. He came to the United States from Japan with the stipulation, when he signed with the Angels initially, that he would pitch as well as hit, that was who he was. And there was some skepticism as to whether he could do it at that level, at the MLB level. But then he proved all those skeptics wrong. I think it's possible that he may inspire some people to try and do what he has done. We know this. If you ever played Little League ball or high school baseball, the best player almost always pitches and plays another position. So in a high school game, it's probably not all that unusual for someone to have pitched a great game but also hit a couple of home runs, because the best athlete on a high school team is almost always a pitcher and also the shortstop or the center fielder, that sort of thing. But then they narrow it and it becomes more specialized as you get into the pros. I imagine that Ohtani will inspire a few people to try and do what he has done.
I would think little kids everywhere
as well.
I would think little kids everywhere, Bob, are like, no, that's it. I want to pitch and I want to hit. I want to play. And I wonder if he's not inspiring, like in little leagues everywhere, that these kids all want to be those players.
I'm sure that's true. And the best kid in Little League is almost always a pitcher sometimes, and then whatever other position he wants to play.
And can he hit?
Right. Gotta be able to hit.
Do you know the Japanese word for unicorn?
I don't.
We stumped Bob Costas. We'll end it there, Bob. Thank you.
Do you? Maybe you came in prepared. Do you?
Ikakuju.
Ikakuju?
Ikakuju, unicorn. I looked it up.
Yeah, if I have a chance,
and you said unicorn. I was saying Bob Costas might say unicorn, and if he does, I'm going to have Ikakuju ready to go.
See, that is preparation.
You see,
chance favors those who are prepared, as someone once wisely said, and you were prepared for this moment. Say it again so that if I interview Ohtani this week, which I'm hoping to do, not certain, but I'm hoping to do it, tell me again, and I'll spring it on him.
Ikakuju.
Ikakuju.
Ikkuju. Ikakuju.
Ikakuju. Not Ikaku. Ikakuju.
Ikakuju. Bob,
you know who would have enjoyed knowing that, but it's too late now?
Who?
The Wily Bongo.
The Wily Bongo, president of the African nation of Gabon.
Correct.
Who offered, as Bob and I love to talk about, he offered anyone in the country, any citizen who can come home with a medal of any kind. It could be a bronze and it could be an anything, $1 million and a beautiful home and a life that you could only dream of in our beautiful nation of Gabon. And it was an offer that we like to say was safe.
Yeah. And, when especially at the Summer Olympics, when there's some 200 nations coming through, you're searching in some cases for a tidbit on that nation. And I could never find a better tidbit about Gabon than that very fact.
Oh, my God.
That they're president for life. They're president for life. So maybe Trump was taking notes. He is not a moderate Republican like your brother. It was your brother, right? That's going to run.
Yeah, he's going to run. We got an interview with him coming up.
I thought moderate Republicans were on the endangered species list, but it's good to hear that a few of them still exist. But the Wily Bongo was president for life of Gabon. And we would always say, this is the premise, and this is why I dubbed him the Wily Bongo. And then that's how you referred to him anytime his name came up. But the Wily Bongo is well aware that no Gabonian has ever won a medal, and no Gabonian is at all likely to win one here.
I don't even think he had the million. He just threw it out there. I mean,
right. What the hell?
He was going to have to scratch that together. I'll never forget when Bob Costas said it was opening ceremonies and he throws out the Wily Bongo and this little tidbit from Gabon. I almost lost it. And I said, please cut away to Katie Couric's face right now. She's sitting next to Bob. She's got to be like, wait, what? What page is that on? Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, unbelievable. Yeah. Well, this moment, I mean, this performance by Shohei Ohtani, it seems to transcend not just the game, but like the culture around the game, the media, the fan engagement, the global outreach. I mean, I can't, the ratings, by the way, as well, throw that in there. They're up in baseball. Isn't that for the first time in a while?
It depends on the matchups. Like last year, Yankees, Dodgers got high ratings, and had it gone beyond 5, had it gone to 6 or even a 7th game, then they would have been probably the highest rating since the Cubs in 2016, because they became a national story, breaking that 108-year curse and finally winning the World Series. One way to measure this is that it's water cooler stuff, so to speak, if there are water coolers anymore, where you're seeing Ohtani being talked about on news programs outside sports contexts. people that are not avid baseball fans are talking about him and about what he did the other night, and that will carry over into the World Series.
I mean, you always talk about the story in sports, especially at the Olympics. There's always the story. There's the event, there's the score, there's the medals, but there's the human narratives, the context behind the statistics. That's where you live and thrive. What story do you think we're witnessing with Shohei Ohtani's career?
I think the story is he's today's headline, but he's also writing history. All these comparisons in the American League, the comparison is who should get the MVP? Aaron Judge, who had a superhuman season, or Cal Raleigh, who hit 60 home runs as a switch hitting catcher while playing that grueling position. And it's very possible that he will get to the World Series. If the Mariners win tonight, they're in the World Series against the Dodgers. That's your conversation. Raleigh and Judge this year. And Judge is a somewhat historical player. But with Ohtani, the story is today, but every moment you think about him, the story is about all time. Where does he fit in the history of baseball? And the answer is one that can't be refuted. In a category all his own. There is no direct comp. As we said earlier, or I said earlier, you can make an argument for somebody else using whatever criteria you want to bring in. But nobody ever did these two things, the two most important things, simultaneously at his level. Not even close.
Wow. So, finally, when you've been in the booth and you feel the moment in real time, a sense that you're witnessing something very special. Did you have that feeling on Friday night as this was unfolding? What was going on inside Bob Costas physiologically?
Well, I wasn't about to faint, but I was certainly riveted. And another way you can tell now, does your phone blow up? I'm getting all kinds of texts in the immediate aftermath of each of the home runs. And I thought Brian Anderson, who's a terrific baseball play-by-play man on TBS, he sensed the moment very well. You can't just call each of these home runs as if they stand alone and you use the standard, to the track, to the wall, and it's gone. You have to give a different kind of call in the moment. And I think he did that extremely well.
Oh, how exciting. It's just as it's happening. We're just getting rolling here. I mean, he blasted one right out of the gates. And then it just starts to build, and you realize, wow, we're seeing something incredible.
He walked the first guy at the top of the first. Then he struck out the next three guys, all of whom were all-stars at one time or another. So he strikes out the side, in effect, after the walk to start the game. Then he leads off for the Dodgers in the bottom of the first and hits a home run, which is the least impressive of the three homers. The second one clears the pavilion entirely, and lands in some walkway out there, estimated at 469 feet. I don't know how accurate that is. Only three people, at least in recent history, have cleared the pavilion. Willie Stargell, which is not so recent, Kyle Schwarber, who's still playing for the Phillies, and now Ohtani.
Jeez, I got to say, what? I also saw this incredible video of him in the dugout during the game, and he was filling up water cups. He was at the water, as you said, the water cooler. It does exist because they have one in the dugout.
Of course it does.
Ohtani is filling up the water cups, and he puts 9 of them out there. He's not just going to get his own water. He's filling up water almost like he's a bat boy or something for the rest of the team. Ooh, I was moved by that right there. Like, he's not some big, showboat who's looking, he's looking out for the other guys to get them water. He doesn't know there's a camera on him. I don't think he's like that kind of, he's not savvy in that way. What do we know about him as a person? Because he doesn't speak English.
Well, he speaks more English than he lets on. And he certainly
he is savvy.
He certainly understands when the question is posed. You can see him nodding his head like he already understands the question, but he prefers to answer more precisely in his native tongue, and then the interpreter delivers the answer. It was that way too for quite a while with Ichiro, but then Ichiro eventually, his English became so good that he delivered his Hall of Fame speech this past summer entirely in English, wrote it in English, and delivered it beautifully in English, which was just so impressive. But I think Ohtani like Ichiro and others, it's a cultural thing. Respect is a huge thing in Japan. In Japan, when players come to the plate for the first time in the game, they bow to the umpire.
Wow.
That's just kind of the way it is. And so even though obviously Ohtani has to have supreme confidence, and you can see that he's enjoying himself, he's more stylish than he is exhibitionist. You know, he doesn't do a lot of self-congratulatory stuff.
So maybe what he's, you know, maybe these little kids that show up to the railing and they want, you know, they're wearing the jersey and they want the autographs. You know, maybe they're saying, "Wow, I'd like to be able to pitch. I'd like to be able to hit." And you know what? Maybe I'm going to fill up water for the other guys on my team and you know, be a team guy, not a me guy.
You get a better chance to be the 26th guy on the roster or the clubhouse guy who fills up the cups of water than you do to be the next Ohtani. There may not be, there hasn't been before, and there may not be for a long time, if ever, another Ohtani.